Do you ever hit a wall where it feels like no matter how much you learn, you cannot fully or sustainably interrupt your patterns of self-abandonment? I know how frustrating and confusing this process can be when you're reading the books, you're journaling, you're listening to the podcasts, maybe going to therapy, and all this self-awareness you're cultivating still hasn't fully interrupted your patterns of self-abandonment. And yet, even though this can be very confusing and frustrating and disappointing, it's incredibly common. After 15 years of practicing as a therapist, this is one pattern I see consistently when it comes to self-abandonment. This is that insight alone isn't typically enough to interrupt patterns of self-abandonment, because self-abandonment is about the relationship you have with yourself. And when we're changing, when we're going through a healing journey, there are three simple basic steps that I've really seen. The first in our change processes, we'll feel really confused or embarrassed about our patterns. Like, we might see that we struggle to say no or, be authentic with people, but we don't really know why that is. And so we go to the second stage, which is building insight and awareness. We start to connect the dots. We start to understand our past, for example, our attachment style, our wounding, and it helps us understand why we act in certain ways. And that self-awareness can be very helpful in that it helps us know that we're not alone, and it helps us know that other people have changed these patterns, that it's not hopeless. And one of my favorite quotes of all time when it comes to the change process is by Dr. Dan Siegel. And he says, name it to tame it. And when we are looking to heal a pattern like self-abandonment, we want to name what's going on first. We have to name it first. Like, maybe it's codependency or anxious attachment or complex trauma. When we have this name, then we can tame it. But taming it is a different step than naming it. Naming it is the self-awareness step. And so we have to move beyond self-awareness to the third step, the third stage of true healing and true self-connection, which is embodied change. And embodied change means that we drop out of just looking at things from our logical lens or through insight building alone, and we have to move into feeling our emotions, feeling changes, embodied change. It includes our body. And often it's really interesting that self-awareness can eventually become a problem when it comes to embodying self-connection, to staying securely attached, to staying regulated in our relationships, to being able to set boundaries. All too commonly, I've seen really self-aware clients start to use their self-awareness against themselves. And so they'll start to use their insight as fuel for their inner critic. And so maybe if they've done the important work of connecting dots, but then they start to use it to judge themselves. For example, if they notice that they feel insecure, they might tell themselves, like, just get over it. This person isn't your dad, and you know your dad wasn't capable of loving you in the way that you need it. You already know this. This person, needs a chance. Like, don't hold them guilty for what your dad did. Like, get over it. And like, I'll see them use their insight to kind of shame themselves, call themselves silly or ridiculous. And it's like, wait, when we judge ourselves, we're actually reinforcing self-abandonment, self-disconnection. Because when you tell yourself that there are certain feelings that you can't have, even though that they actually are existing, you're disconnecting from yourself. Self-connection, interrupting self-abandonment, means you have to become a soft place to land for yourself. You have to become securely attached from within. You have to be a safe person for you, genuinely, not just theoretically, not just intellectually. And one of the most common ways I see self-aware people, or people in general, really, abandon themselves is by refusing to feel their feelings. They will stay in intellectualizing them, analyzing them, wondering why they feel a certain way, judging it, that they shouldn't feel a certain way. But in reality, they do feel that way. And so all of this intellectualizing, analyzing, judging keeps them from actually showing up for themselves, which means just sitting with the emotion, processing it, digesting the emotion. When you're a soft place to land for yourself, you understand there are no such thing as bad or wrong emotions, for example. There are uncomfortable ones. And there are actions we can take from our emotions that are harmful to ourselves or others. But no feelings are bad or wrong. When we're a soft place to land for ourselves, we accept all the feelings we have and we are willing to feel them even when they're uncomfortable, especially when they're uncomfortable. That's what it means to be self-connected. That's what it means to be a safe person for yourself. That's what it means to not abandon yourself anymore. It's that simple of a process to understand, but we have to be willing to feel our way through it. And a lot of times self-aware people are more comfortable living up in their heads. This could be because of complex trauma, but also we live in a culture that really values the logical mind over our senses, over emotions, over our own gut wisdom. But to really show up for yourself, you have to start turning within. And it's not just up here, it's in your heart, in your gut, in your core, in your essence. So, learning to not abandon yourself is a practice. You start to go, okay, for example, I feel insecure. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but I am willing to sit with the discomfort of feeling insecure because I'm connected to myself, because I value myself, because I'm a safe person for myself. And it can be really to be embodied around this. We let ourselves feel the sensations of that emotion. For example, I feel insecure. I notice that my heart is racing. My breath is kind of shallow. My gut is tight. My head tells me that this is very similar to the feeling of anxiety, but it's kind of a panicked, racing heart, short breath feeling. And then I just sit with it and I'm willing to breathe. And I'm willing to let myself honor that that's what I feel. Literally, when we do that for ourselves, a lot of times those uncomfortable emotions that we're refusing, feeling start to dissipate just by the willingness to put presence onto them. That's what a safe person does anyway for our emotions. Oh, you're in pain? Let me sit with you. I see you. I care about you. You matter to me. I can sit with your pain. It's not too much for me. And then when we sit with our emotions, it's really interesting. We start to notice what we need or want in any given moment. And so when I sit with my insecurity, I can go, okay, what does this mean that I need right now? Okay, I notice that this person in my life that I feel insecure about is really consistent with me. They're not texting me all day, every day, but I've learned that that's healthy. And, they check in with me, a couple times a day. And I know that that seems really consistent and healthy, so far so good. And so really, I just need to breathe through my insecurity and validate that it's okay to feel insecure sometimes. We all feel insecure sometimes when we're showing up in a new relationship or in any relationship. Insecurity, vulnerability, uncertainty. Those are parts of being in human relationships, and I'm willing to feel it. Sometimes we literally just need to honor that emotion. Sometimes we might go, you know what? I'm self-abandoning by people-pleasing right now. And I feel the anxiety of wanting to please others. It feels like a racing heart, but I also feel the resentment, which is like my jaw is tight and I almost feel like my teeth are grinding because I don't want to say yes to this. And so when I sit with this inner conflict, I know I need to say no. And then if I'm truly self-connected, if I'm truly interrupting self-abandonment, I have to be willing to practice living into that change, feeling the discomfort as it arises, and still prioritizing my own relationship with myself. And that's truly how we stop self-abandoning. We move from inside to embodied change to stop self-abandoning when we finally show up for ourselves consistently. That's what a safe person does. We don't ever get this perfectly. We stop thinking that we need to have all the answers, and then suddenly, boom, we're gonna be self-connected and securely attached and, authentic at all times. No, we're human. We're gonna have, disruption sometimes. But it's that willingness to keep sitting with our feelings and exploring what it means that we need or we want in any given moment that helps us be really authentic with ourselves and self-connected, no matter what happens in the world around us or in our relationships. It simply is a practice. Being willing to show up for yourself, feel the emotion, feel into what's the right next step for you. What do you need or want next? And then to honor that bit by bit. And again, you don't have to be perfect. No safe person is perfect. They're just consistent and honor us with intention and willingness to show up for us even when it's uncomfortable. And so we just have to be willing to do that embodied practice for ourselves to interrupt self-abandonment. We have to move beyond intellectualizing what we should do and feel into what we actually feel and what we authentically need or want next. I have loved connecting with you in this video. I hope that it was helpful. If you have any questions or comments about this idea of interrupting self-abandonment through embodied change, not just self-awareness, I'd love to hear your comments down below. I also have a small, intimate relational space I've just started to build out, which is my Confidently Authentic Founder Circle. If you'd like support with myself and a small community of 15 members to move beyond insight to embody change, to be truly, sustainably connected to yourself. If that sounds good, details are below. Otherwise, I can't wait to connect with you in the next video.